better Nigeria, is it a myth or should we keep hoping?
Nigeria is a highly religious country. How come corruption thrives?
Why is adoption not encouraged in Nigeria?
Is there a future for the Nigerian youth?
Being rich and famous, is that the only reason for being an artist?
What makes a great nation? Is it the leaders? What about the people?
This is Answers with Dr. Reju.
Good afternoon, 3 o'clock in the city of Jos. Yeah, when that sound hit the airwaves, you know what's coming at you. Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. My name is Reju, and I'm in the studio today with someone making a comeback. That's Joan. Joan, good to see you.
It's good to be back, sir.
All right, and Mecca is here also to join in this conversation this afternoon. That song, it was very true when we chose that particular soundtrack to introduce this program. It's even truer today, more so. We're still looking for that nation that we're looking for. We still haven't found it, and we're still searching for that Nigeria of our dreams. Is it real? Is it a mirage? Is it attainable? Is it just a wild good chase? So we are live right now on Patrice Radio, Spice of the World, Flavor of the Airways. I was thinking about, the drift of this program, guys, and a quote by Albert Einstein came to my mind. And I'm going to paraphrase it because I can actually quote it, copiously. He said the same principles, values, personalities that create a problem cannot be deployed in solving it. That if we're trying to use the same kind of principles, practices, values, deploying the same kind of personalities that creates a problem in the first instance, to solve it is just a wild good chase. But before we go into this program today, we are trying to create new principles, new values, new personalities, with Kingdom Citizens College right here in Jos. And I'm very proud to say that Joan is an alumnus of that school. And I'm very glad to be sitting down here with her today. So we just entered into, this partnership with Trinity Western University in Canada. Listen to this for details, and then we'll get back into discussion after this.
Kingdom Citizens Pavilion schools have experienced a massive upgrade with a signed MOU with the highly reputable Trinity Western University in Langley, Canada. We now offer admission into a strategic Year 1 U1 program of the Canadian University. Trinity Western University is the first and highest ranking private university in Canada. With this U1 admission, your word can start the first year of his Canadian university education right from here in Nigeria, saving you lots of money and giving you the gift of another precious year before they're gone from home. Through our fully automated smart classrooms, your word will have full access to the entire faculty of the prestigious Trinity Western University and one of the largest university virtual libraries in the world. Also, you have access to endless possibilities of learning, networking, cultural exchange trips, and lots more. What more? Through our partnership with TWU, the U1 session fees are affordable and can be paid per semester. Better still, students can also decide to conclude their full degree right here in Nigeria through our Center for Transformational Leadership with scheduled research trips to TWU Canada campus. Canada has come home to you to position your word for a brighter future. Do you need more information? You can send us an email at info@kcpschools.com. You can also connect with us via our social media handles on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at KCP Schools. Kingdom Citizens Pavilion Schools, building nation builders.
You're welcome back to the program. That's our little way of contributing to creating new principles, new values, new personalities that can actually steer the ship of this nation. Because I believe I am not a prophet. I am just someone who read, trends, who want to have an understanding of trends. Before this nation can have that much needed turnaround, we are looking at 20, 25 years. Because we need a totally, I said that about 5 years ago, and I said that's if we start. But I don't think we started, because if we ever do anything to start, then the current crop of people that we have in governance would never be near. So today we don't really have like an episode, right? It's very difficult to put a theme or a topic. It's just general state of the nation. And, Emeka and John, what is coming to me is that many years ago, I don't know, maybe I can't put a timeline to it, the political class, or they call them the elites, they cooked something. They planted a vineyard years ago. They were very committed to it. And today they are harvesting the fruit. Right? That vineyard that they planted, that thing they cooked was, they want to have a generation of very ignorant people. People who can't fight, people who can't question. They destroyed education. While we were off air, we're talking about, there was a threat in UJ, right? That, some kidnappers are coming, and the response from a clueless government is to close down the school. But they still ask the students to come back for lectures, as if when they're in classroom for lectures, the kidnappers can come. So those seeds were planted in a multifaceted way. And the only outcome they wanted, the only fruit they wanted, was a pack of ignorant, population. I made a comment on the Channels TV news, publication on Facebook. Someone in the National Assembly said that the president is not speaking to us. So I made a sarcastic post. How can you say the president is not speaking when this man addressed press conference every day? He has made phone calls to the parents of those that the kids were kidnapped. He even took some of them on medical trip when he was traveling abroad. He even, he has traveled to visit the troops on the front line. How can you say the man is not speaking? If anybody is saying the president is not speaking, he must be from Mars. And somebody descended on me. How can I be so wicked to say the president is speaking? Simple sarcasm. Nigerians don't understand. And that's why the government can come and begin to talk about there's a rumor of a coup. They are threatening some activists. Same old. There's so much to chew. So I'm very sure you guys have been following what's going on in the polity, the state of the nation. That's what we want to really look at today. We know that on the front burner, security, but there are a lot of other things going on. So I don't know where you guys, you told me off air, there are a lot of things that are going to be coming at me. But this is Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. We just want to help. This program is just to help. We want to lift the psyche, economic, political, social psyche of the emerging leaders out there, to be able to let them know that it's in your hands. What are you guys thinking about?
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for having us today. We've had a series of kidnapping in the last 2 weeks, so maybe we'll start from there.
Okay.
I want to ask a question.
Ask.
Are we not empowering bandits, Boko Haram, whatever we want to call them today, to dictate to us what happens in our country? Because as it were right now, they are dictating to us what happens in our country. They can hoist a flag anywhere, walk into any locality. Are we not empowering them to do that? Especially the fact that we pay them and then grant amnesty and forgiveness as if this is some religious organization we're running here in the country.
Yeah,
so I just want to add something to what he said. I think when Chibok girls were kidnapped, El-Rufai made a comment that the president, that's Goodluck then, should pay whatever sum Boko Haram would ask for. And now
he said he actually paid some cattle rearers not to come and attack them in Kaduna State.
And then now when it is government, he's saying that nobody should pay for these students that have been kidnapped. That he knows, he can remember saying that, but he feels this is a way of empowering these kidnappers. And
so you see, it's very, there's a phrase I've been using of recent. It's obviously obvious that, and I think I granted an interview on on a sister station some months ago on Unity FM. And I said that what is going on here is that the government themselves, they've declared war on the nation. And that's where that quote by Albert Einstein, comes in. If I am the one that's supposed to solve a problem that I create, that problem will never be solved. So anyone that thinks that there is an agenda somewhere, there is this sort of things going on somewhere, it's no longer sounding like a conspiracy theory. It's sounding like it's real.
right? That, you see, normal leadership or crisis management principle that you can learn in the 100 level. When you want to negotiate with miscreants, with bandits, the way, and you know we've called them by many names, you have to negotiate from a position of strength. Especially if it's a government to some militants or some, you have to negotiate from a position of strength. But what is going on here is that the government is negotiating from a position of weakness. So there must be, because the more you, even if it's simple blackmail, right? And you're going to pay ransom so that the person will stop, blackmailing you. You have to do it in such a way that you put pay, you stop, you eliminate any further, kind of opportunity for that person to continue to blackmail you. That kind of negotiation. But in a case where it's gone so terrible, it's gone so crass, there is an argument on the pages of newspaper that a woman said they sent 800,000 to Gumi. Gumi said no, you didn't send 800,000 to me. Former President Obasanjo came out talking about carrot and stick. I take some little bits, some pieces from what he said, which is okay. But Emeka, there's no, what I want to avoid doing is over analysis. The issue here is that it's so obvious that what is going on, the government is complicit. We are empowering bandits, and this is preparatory to 2023 elections. Because when you give money to bandits, right? You see, I have been privileged to talk to someone who survived a kidnap. And he said these kidnappers told her that they don't give them money. They only buy them cannabis, Indian hemp, right? That the money goes to the big men at the top, right? What is happening here right now is that these bandits are being empowered so that they are found useful on a greater level when they need them. So there is no, because I look at it, I'm not in the military, but I read a lot of military, whatever. Any kind of military formation without air power, they are so limited. Bandits, Boko Haram don't have air power. To take them out is not a problem. So if the bandits continue to, I saw those children from that Kaduna, is agricultural, whatever, that were released. The way those people came out of that, in fact, the media should also be a bit considerate. They shouldn't show such things. It's depressing for those children to come out after 50 something days in captivity under very horrible condition in a country where we claim we still have a government. No, we don't have. So Emeka, the answer is yes. Bandits are being empowered, and the end game is the next election.
So what then should we do in the case of kidnapping if giving them money is empowering them? How do you now fight this whole thing?
You see, we can't fight it, John, because the person that's supposed to fight it is the one funding them, right? We cannot, it's very unfortunate. The only thing we can do here is to raise awareness that at the end of the day, the citizens, peace-loving citizens in this country, they still outnumber those, right, who want this country, excuse me, in turmoil. We still outnumber them. But like I said, they planted a vineyard years ago. And we've gotten to a point where the capacity, the willingness, the desire, to fight back is missing. The last time we discussed this, Emeka, I was talking about, there's and the example I gave about that, my post on Facebook and the response actually confirms that there is a deep level of intellectual deficit in the country. A socio-political illiteracy, right, in the country, where we don't even know how to mount a because people are going to back off now that the government is threatening voices of activism. They are threatening now that some people want to plan a coup, right? And it's easy. If anybody, you just go solo, I bet you are going to be tried. in a hoax trial, the person might be jailed or even killed, because this government can do anything. Like I said in that my podcast, they can destroy even themselves, their own assets. It's happened during the NSAS. They'll destroy their own assets, right, to ensure that they keep it, this stranglehold on power. What can we do? Let's plan long term, right? Let's plan long term. You see, it pains me when I see the way the life was sucked out of the NSAS protest, because of what birthed NSAS in the first instance, because I kept sensitizing the youths then. A lot of those who are on the street protesting for NSAS didn't know who birthed it. And we're still there. The only thing that can happen is well-informed, educated activism. Because those who love this thing called Nigeria, right, they are still more than those who want this thing called Nigeria to continue. So there's something that can be done, but it won't be done between now and 2023. It won't even be done after, before the election that comes after 2023. My arithmetic is not too good, so I can't give you the date. But it has to be long term. And if it's long term, it must have that component of sacrifice. As long as Nigerians have now, we're dancing to the beat played by these political opportunists, right, that we want to do things for ourselves. As long as that's the way we want to go, this thing will continue. Because, banditry now is a massive business, John. Yeah.
I was just reading somewhere that the Minister of Information said, banditry, kidnapping is not a federal offense. So people calling on the federal government to do something about it. Now, how do you respond to that, considering the fact that we don't have decentralized policing in this country? What does he expect the state governors to do when in reality they don't necessarily control the police force, they don't control the military?
Excuse me. Emeka, you are not being fair on me to make a comment on whatever Lai Mohammed says. And I say that deliberately, because it's unfortunate that we have such a mind, to manage, the Minister of Information. Because it's as if, the man speaks and then he thinks later. And for anybody to say that is to tell you again that the man is reaping the fruit of that vineyard. He knows Nigerians won't. They can't even, maybe many of them can't even make sense of what he's saying. He might not even understand what he's just said. That is not a federal offense. And you rightly said that, in this country, the country home of a sitting governor was attacked. The country home. And this is a sitting governor. That's Uzodinma.
Oh, okay.
Is that him?
Yes.
That's Imo State, right?
State, yeah.
His country home was attacked in very unrestricted. Look at the prison that was the correctional center that was attacked in Imo State. It was in a place they call the green zone. The green zone in any city is the most secured. That's where you have maybe the governor's lodge, the federal secretariat, the government presence. So this man knows what he's saying. It's just the sequence of insults hauled upon Nigerians that they can just come out and say anything and they know there won't be a backlash. So, people have been talking about state police and all those kind of things, but those calling for the state police are not the ones that should be calling for it. To have state police is easy. It's very easy. It's the easiest thing to do. Right? Let the governors demand for it. Right? Let the governors demand for it. Let the governors call all the members of the House of Assembly, the Senate, the House of Reps that represent them. They have a bit of influence and control over their own state, because for any major, amendment to the Constitution to be done on that scale, it must pass through the National Assembly and then it must also go to the states. So they can do it. It can come as they can do it. I'm not too good with the legal implications of it, but within the forum of the Governors Forum, they can actually use that platform the person that should want it as a right are the governors. But they're not. They are not. So look at when the governor of Benue State promulgated a law, banning open grazing. Now, you see, I keep repeating that. Maybe one day it will strike a chord. Nigeria is the only country on earth where you have a state law making body, right, without a law enforcement agency. That is how bizarre the structure of this country is. We have state assemblies with the primary responsibility of making laws, right? Now you make laws, you don't have the agency to enforce the laws. That is the contradiction. That is how brazen, how glaring this contraption called Nigeria is. So the minister can say that because he knows there won't be any kind of a backlash. He knows that. Yeah, John.
Atiku was suggesting that the president should recall and mobilize ex-soldiers to help with the current state of the nation. Do you think that is a valid suggestion?
That is the former vice president?
Yes.
Yeah, that's just, trying to, say something to still make himself believe that he's in the opposition.
Yes, I mean, he was bringing up the fact that we have people that have the brains to help with the whole insecurity going on in the country right now.
I will put that within a larger context, John.
Okay.
There was someone too who called and said, we need to have recruitment to the military right now. And they said this, you recruit today, do you send them on tour of duty tomorrow? How long does it take to train a recruit and be war ready and to be, operation ready? In the same tone, John, these retired military men, what is their welfare state? What is their economic what is their economic many of them can't even feed. Many of them are not healthy, right? You see, all these things Atiku is part of the problem. This is just saying that to maybe still create some room for him to be relevant in the next election, because the game is demonize this government so that this can become the angel. It's and the way we're going 2023 come, because I want us to know that this whole insecurity, the instability is for the next election. If we are not looking at it that way, we are not analyzing it well. It's for the next election, right? And everybody we want to, so that Nigerians can be pushed to a point again where we vote, that's if we vote at all, on chance. We are going to get to that point where we will repeat the same narrative. Anything but APC. Anything, just because we've done it, anything but Jonathan. Anything but, that's how we vote, right? We always vote on chance. It is not how good the person coming is how bad the one we want to, remove from office is. That's not how to build a nation. This nation is going nowhere. Let me drop this in here. Do you know that in 2014, right, the 1914 treaty that amalgamated this country expired in 2014? The natural, the realistic, the correct response should have been a revisiting of that treaty to discuss whether we want to continue it, because it has a timeline. It has an expiry date. But this is 2021. That is 6 years, right, after that treaty. So even this country right now is illegal. Nigeria as it is right now, right, is illegal. It shouldn't be existing because the treaty that formed it, right, has expired. So you see, there are a lot of things going on, and it's at that point that we have this group of opportunists, right, in positions of authority and power and service. So what Atiku said made no sense. It's just wanting to say something. It's just to let Nigerians know, hey, I'm still here. Because there's no sense in it. Right? where we have retirees dying on a queue to collect pension, right? You want to bring those people to come and fight. You see, those are things that happen in ideal situations. When a nation that is functioning, is in this kind of situation, you recall, ex-servicemen, and they are always battle ready, because when you are leaving the military, you leave with a brief. You can be called back at any point in time, right? You can be called, but these guys are, maybe some of them are dead. Do they even have a database of those people that have been retired? Most retired soldiers were retired for reasons not because they've been injured in war. Is either ethnic, is either religious, is either the person is honest, we don't want him around, and all those kind of things. Is if this guy is here, we cannot continue to do the bad things we're doing, so let's retire him. That's the way they've retired people. There are a lot of, if you see a retired general in America, the guy is finished. He's aged, right? But here you have a retired general, maybe who is still in his 40s. Yeah. You have retired majors who are still young, and the guy is not limping. He doesn't have any kind of injury. You see, so what is Atiku talking about? He doesn't, it's just to say something. It's one of our problems. Everybody talk about Atiku having a lot of money. What work has he done in his life that he has a lot of money? He's a career customs officer. How much is his salary, even if he served for 30 years? Let's even say he didn't spend a dime, which is not possible. Set up a university. He's one of the richest people. He's part of those guys who planted that vineyard, that we can still be referencing him on this program.
You said you're speaking to emerging leaders.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking to the emerging leaders who are listening today,
yeah,
how much power will they hold? How much influence will they wield if they go for the grassroots positions?
Grassroots.
Okay.
Can they make a change?
Sure, they can. They can make a change, and I believe that's the best place. This is a massive. I told you about this vineyard, right? You need to go to the borders of that vineyard and begin to plant something else, right? Begin to plant something else, right? That's where you can really make a change. For those talking about they want to be governor, they are political illiterates. They don't understand how it works, right? They need to go to where the establishment, the status quo, will not see as threatening. These guys have their roots deep, right? They have their roots deep. Then you need to be strategic to go to places where that, but that's where you can. You see, because the journey of 1,000 miles, they said what starts with a step. You can make a difference from the head. That top, president, vice president, senate, house of assembly, governor, and whatever, is all decided. It's all decided, right? So it's grassroots, because that's where you can easily. You see, if a young man will be a councillor, if a young man will maybe be on a team in a local government, and what you are working towards is that the money, the allocation that comes here, you see, what will solve our problem is simple. Come with a political mantra: public money for public service. That's all. And that takes a lot of sacrifice. That means you are not going there to enrich yourself. Public money, public service. But talking about the 2023 election, this is what I read into it. The stakes are higher than ever, because 2023 is going to come in the midst of the clamor, whether you want to call it restructuring, right? Whether you want to call it secession, whether you want to call it devolution of power, and all those kind of things. And then coupled with the fact that the incumbent government, they've suffered a massive political, backlash. Their inefficiency is massive, right? So what I think is this whole insecurity is going to escalate. And something that we saw a glimpse of it, I might be wrong, but this is my read. Something that we saw a glimpse of it, and very soon you might start hearing it. We saw a glimpse of that in the run-up to the election of Jonathan, when Boko Haram, and then the election was postponed, right, for I think 6 weeks. Right? 6 weeks. And then remember, guys, that within those 6 weeks, not a shot was fired. Within those 6 weeks, not a bomb went off. That was when I was convinced that somebody has a switch of this insecurity. Right? What I'm reading into this, if it doesn't come to pass that way, we'll be glad for it, is that the election will keep being shifted. They've already started with something like, we can't have censors because of insecurity. Right? It's going to get to a point, with this insecurity, how will people go and vote? That will keep this government in power. Right? But for me, right, if I'm going to make a prescription, which I don't like doing, but I'm going to say it, if anybody still have any kind of interest in Nigeria, right, being a Nigeria that we can structure, right, and we want to put some sort of fairness, right, both parties, I mean, there's no other political party in Nigeria except you want to be politically correct. APC and PDP should show some goodwill and make their presidential candidates to be a Southeasterner. Yeah. Because the reason the insecurity has jumped from the north to the southeast is not unconnected with that. Make that place too to be turbulent, to be uncertain, because it's happening within. There are already political games going on there in case it comes. There is even another side of it that the argument might come. Jonathan is actually from there. Is his name not Azikiwe? And all those kind of things. So all this, when you put it in the mix, 2023 is looking like an election that might be postponed, that might be delayed. You might see some doctrine of necessity and all those kind of things that will keep this failure of a government there. And that's why, that's my reading. I just hope I am wrong. So this is where we wrap it up today for this exciting episode of Answers with Dr. Reju. And thank you very much, Joan, for coming. Good to see you back.
Good to be here,
and then also for Emeka for hanging out, with me today. And I thank Josh and Genevieve, who are the backroom staff, making everything sort of fit together. Join us again next week when we look at another issue, which is still likely to be this. Till then, bye.